Welcome to Vegan Ultra. I'm your inspiration guide, Adam Gals, on this epic quest for health, hope, and happiness, in which I lose 150 pounds in 12 months on a whole food vegan diet while walking 3,000 miles to prove to myself, my family, and everyone watching on YouTube we can all become the ultra versions of ourselves if we give it a chance and are powered by plants. Today I'm talking about the Christmas dinner I just had with my family, which I humbly offer as the best Christmas dinner we've ever had. The reason, of course, is because as with any family gathering, there's going to be a bit of discomfort if things get a bit too political or if people bring up things from the past that they wish they hadn't. But ultimately, this was a very inspiring Christmas dinner with some personal stories, especially from my grandparents, that were truly motivational, especially about their 62 years of happy marriage, something that we can all dream about aspiring to. And as a Blue Zone vegan, I might be able to pull off myself. But of course, today we're talking about the feast that I had at this vegan Christmas with my non-vegan family. So let's get to it. This was the Christmas Eve feast, which by Polish tradition does not include any meat, which of course is not a problem for me. We had some mushrooms, we had corn, we had potatoes. This is the Gardein vegan turkey and stuffing with vegan gravy. And we also had some 3 different kinds of pepper. And I had some fiber water with that. Now, the Gardein turkey roast, I overcooked this because I accidentally thawed it overnight in the fridge. Do not do that. It says about an hour and 45 minutes from frozen. So make sure that you do that. Also, it recommends wrapping in parchment paper and baking. I'll also try today with the Christmas dinner, baking with some actual water in the pan. Hopefully that will make it a lot moister, but still generally pretty good and pretty impressive. For 10 grams of fat per serving, 75% of that is healthy poly and mono unsaturated fat. Overall, just the low amount of fiber and high amount of sodium is what makes this suboptimal in terms of health. And of course, the family favorite, the vegan ice cream. Honest to goodness, the greatest and best tasting ice cream that I've ever tasted. Most of my family agrees. But of course, this is why you want to be very careful with this. Eat this only on special occasions. 9 grams of saturated fat per bar. Only 180 calories, but about half of those calories are from saturated fat. So let's get to the healthy food. We had the 3 different kinds of peppers. I'm not a fan of peppers, but I eat this for the benefit of my gut microbiome. We had mushrooms, which I do love, 100 grams. That's about 0.2 pounds. Incredible. This is nearly 25% protein from mushrooms. Now, of course, Americans get plenty of protein, just 3% are deficient. But point is that plant foods have a lot. And in terms of mushrooms, some are as much as 60 or 70% protein. Potatoes, always, you love these, especially with the gravy. You know, vegan meat and potatoes and gravy. I mean, what more can you want at a holiday feast? Notice a surprise how much, lot of fiber here, surprising amount of protein, about 10%, iron, and lots of potassium. Remember, potassium is the anti-sodium. The government recommends you target 2 times or more potassium as much as sodium per day. Corn, just love it. 9 cobs of corn. This is basically 1 kilo, 2.2 pounds. So you can see, and a whole lot of protein, a whole lot of fiber, and a whole lot of potassium. And iron, there is pretty much no anemia for a well-balanced vegan diet, because all these plants are packed with non-heme iron. You absorb only how much you need. For dessert, in addition to that bar of So Delicious caramel ice cream, we had some blueberries, of course, because this is a superfood in terms of antioxidants. We had regular grapes, the green variety, but This is the life-changing discovery that I made. Seedless grapes, not actually from Kroger. They were from my local store called Cub. But these seedless grapes, everyone tried them. Everyone agreed. They are amazing. The sweetest grapes we've ever had. Just absolutely delicious. And remember how it works with fruits. The darker the fruit, the more concentrated the antioxidants, and generally, the sweeter the taste. So basically, if you have not tried black grapes, you have not lived. But let's go to the actual data. Now, you, as a Blue Zone vegan, if you're eating a normal amount, you don't have to worry about this. I love spreadsheets. That's because I get to share it with you, and my dietitian loves these as well. So let's take a look at the family dinner overall. 9.1 pounds of food for 3,900 calories. So 427 calories per pound compared to 875 for the standard American diet, but half the calorie density. What about the whole food? That was about 7 pounds of food for 2,405 calories, just 356 calories per pound, about 1/3 the calorie density. So you can see that overall, it was 12 grams of fat for the whole food portion, 2 grams of saturated fat, 56 grams of protein, 591 grams of carbs, 58 grams of fiber, very little sodium, a whole lot of potassium, not very much calcium, a whole lot of iron, and a potassium to sodium ratio. Remember, 2+ is optimal, 47 for the entire dinner, 2.2. If we take a look at the overall calories, 16% calories from fat for the entire meal, 15% calories from protein, 70% calories from carbs, and 3% of the calories were fiber. Fiber is 2 grams calories per gram. The government recommends 3%. The average American eats 1%. For the whole food, it was 4%. So if we take a look at the most fiber rich, it was the peppers and the mushrooms. What about protein rich? Remember, Americans obsess over protein unnecessarily. Not surprisingly, not much protein in fruit. That is not the point. The mushrooms, 22%, but remember, mushrooms can go as high as 70%. Peppers, a surprising amount of 15% overall protein. And what about the potassium to sodium ratio? Well, let's take a look at that. For the processed foods, not surprisingly, it's less than 1. And for the whole foods, 47, ranging from 106 for black grapes to a low of 25 for potatoes, but still, that is quite a good potassium to sodium ratio. So I was targeting 21,000 calories for the week, exceeded that slightly. 3,000 calories was the goal, 3,067, 95 grams of fat, 14 grams of saturated fat, 171 grams of protein, 471 grams of carbs per day, 120 grams of fiber, absolutely incredible. A lot of sodium because of the processed food, but 11,000 calories of the potassium, the anti-sodium, 6,500 milligrams of calcium, 41 milligrams of iron. Remember, non-heme plant-based, you only absorb what you need, and a potassium to sodium ratio of 3.1, 50% above the optimal level, according to the government. So 25% fat, 20% protein, 55% carbs, and 7% fiber, 7 times the average American. And in terms of saturated fat, half of the saturated fat came from the 6 ice creams that I had this week. I only have those ice creams on holiday feast weeks, and that still works out to 3.6% of calories from saturated fat. American Heart Association recommends 6%, the government 10%. Less, of course, is better. In terms of protein, 1.7 grams per kilo, more than enough to actually build muscle this week. And the upper end of the recommended for adding muscle, 1 gram per pound of target weight. I did achieve that with 55% carbs, which is pretty much the optimal amount for minimizing mortality. So you can see it was a wonderful week of feasting with my family at Christmas Eve dinner. I'm going to try to recreate this and slightly improve it for Christmas dinner itself. So more Gardein. I'm assuming we're having the same amounts of vegetables. And of course, I'm bringing the black grapes. Remember, black grapes, you haven't lived until you try them. The sweetest, best tasting fruit I have ever tasted thus far in my life. Thank you so much for joining me. Please subscribe to this channel, like this video to help other people find it on YouTube, and consider trying a Blue Zone vegan lifestyle that's helped me to lose 92 pounds in 23 weeks, on the way to 150 pounds in 1 year. This is science-based magic and nutrition-fueled sorcery that can help anybody become the Captain America versions of themselves if you give it a chance and are powered by plants.